I love festivals. Well, who wouldn't? Especially the Chinese Lunar New Year. It's a time of delicious feasts, millions of family reunions, honored traditions, and vibrant new celebrations. As the year of the snake arrives, the world is set to change even faster. Let's get recharged during this festival season to gear up for a new year of flexibility, resilience, wisdom, and success. Hello and welcome to our Chinese Lunar New Year special program with World Insight. I'm Tian Wei, and Happy Lunar New Year to all of you. As we celebrate the Chinese Year of Snake, we reflect on the deep cultural connections snakes have in Chinese tradition. From Bai Suzhen in the white snake legend to the diverse meanings of snakes hold in cultures around the world, the symbolism is rich and varied. Today, we are joined by a group of friends from around the world to celebrate the Year of the Snake together and explore their interpretations of the snake. How do they understand the snake in Chinese culture? What significance does it hold in their own traditions? Let's have this conversation. Joining us, David, Julian, Suyasha, and Matthew. Thank you so much for joining us, and Happy New Year to all of you. So it's wonderful that you are coming from all over the world. David's now in Thailand, but he will soon in China, and Julian in France, Suyasha in India, and Matthew here with me in Beijing. Oh, yes. Wow. What an occasion that we could have a family reunion like this. So how would you like and celebrate the Year of the Snake, Matthew?
I will going to have my traditional dumpling dinner with my family.
Yes.
So I'm going to have my father, my mother-in-law, my small family, and visiting many relatives during that very important festival. And we're going to try to find a place that we can do some firecrackers.
Okay, wow, good point. David, are you already missing firecrackers?
Well, there's a lot of Chinese people here and people of Chinese heritage. And going into the shopping malls, you know, there are snakes and Chinese characters everywhere. And I can almost feel like I'm just in Beijing. So yeah, we're getting ready to go out and look at some fireworks and then go out to a little bit north of here to the biggest Chinatown here, and hopefully have some really good hot pot or something. I don't know exactly what. There's lots of choices here.
Yeah.
So
Yasha, what about for you?
So where I am from, which is Calcutta in India, there is actually a very active Chinese community there. And so growing up, the spring festival would mean that we'd see, you know, like the paper lanterns and the dragon dances. And it was also a lot of them have moved to other countries now, but it's when they come home, because Calcutta to them is home. So I think it's about, really the essence is about spending time with friends and family. And obviously like the food is a bonus. So yeah, I think that's going to be my go-to. So the place is called Tangra in Calcutta. And there's maybe about 30 or 40 families now, but it used to be a much larger number.
Wow.
And yeah, that's what we generally do.
Well, thank you so much for introducing that part of your city to us. What about for you, Julian?
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's also about, since the family is more in France now, so we try to have also something Chinese at home, and so maybe like have I never knew David is the expert for that. How do you say it, like 对联, 春联?
matching couplets.
Matching couplets, so you know, around the doors of the house, or maybe I was actually thinking of having it on both sides of your piano and having a 横批 there. I don't know. I'll see on the top, you know.
So Julian, I remember you in earlier years. You've been organizing Chinese temple fairs. This year continue. Are they profitable?
No, we didn't do the temple fair, but we're not this year. But we do another event. It's going to be the Champs-Élysées, and it's a big event because they actually there will be no car circulation around that. They will have the streets totally pedestrian. So it's going to be because there's the Arc of Triumph is there with it's really the Champs-Élysées Avenue. So it's a huge thing.
Yeah. As we come together to celebrate the Year of the Snake, what does the snake symbolize in Chinese culture, and how is it viewed in different parts of the world? Take a look at this.
Happy Year of the Snake. Here in China, the Spring Festival is so much more than just a holiday. It's a vibrant celebration for thousands of years of wisdom and tradition. And guess what? UNESCO has given it the ultimate shout-out by adding it to the list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. The Spring Festival is now officially global, and the world is joining in on the celebration, marking a big milestone in cultural exchange. As 2025 ushers in the Year of the Snake, we are celebrating this first-ever Spring Festival as a globally recognized cultural heritage, a celebration that transcends borders and connects the world. Fireworks dazzling the skies, families reuniting, and a sense of excitement fills the air. The Year of the Snake is here. Did you know that in Chinese mythology, Fuxi and Nuwa, the legendary ancestors of the Chinese people, had snake-like bodies with human heads? The snake, with its ability to shed the old and embrace the new, represents intelligence and transformation. It's the perfect reminder that no matter what challenges we face, we can move through life's twists and turns with grace. And it doesn't stop there. Across cultures, the snake carries diverse meanings. In ancient Greece, it stood for healing and medicine. In India, it symbolizes energy and power. In Native American traditions, it represents rebirth and fresh starts. So, what does the Year of the Snake mean for us today? As we step into the new year, the snake teaches us a valuable lesson: resilience. The Year of the Snake reminds us that change isn't something to fear, but an opportunity to grow, evolve, and thrive. Year after year, as winter fades, spring is around the corner. For many, the Spring Festival isn't just about reuniting with loved ones. It's a powerful reminder that culture isn't a relic of the past. It's evolving and blossoming, shaping our world every single day.
This year is the Year of the Snake, and there are so many interpretations about snakes in different cultures. I'm sure coming from different cultures as you are, you all have your own explanations and perceptions about snakes. So I would love to hear, in your culture, what is snake, signify, and what does that mean in your culture, and how can we learn about each other's?
In we have a lot of different religions here, and one of them, the snake is a pretty prominent character because there's the god Shiva, who is sort of one of the main ones, and so his companion is a snake, and this is the cobra snake. So there seems to be a lot of respect for snakes in India. It's not seen as something to be feared. And where I live in Goa, it's a village, and monsoon is when you see a lot of the venomous ones. But the golden rule is always that you don't kill them. You always let them pass. So if you have a snake on the road, you stop, let it pass, and then go on about your journey.
Good point.
So
actually, there are traditions like that in China as well. You don't kill a snake in your house, for example. You let it go, just to go freely. Is snake sometimes the inspirations in music works or in artworks in India?
Yes. So going back to the cobra, so the female cobra is known as the Nagin, who has become the sort of figure in pop culture because she's seen as a shapeshifter, and she's this really beautiful woman who can transform into a snake. And there have been a couple of musical pieces which is written from the POV of the snake charmer. In fact, I think, obviously I don't want to play it now, but maybe we can listen to it later. So that's become like a pretty popular theme in pop culture here. And obviously over the years, people have done their own versions. There's a rock version, there's a jazz version, there's a pop version. Yeah, it's just called the Nagin tune.
Sounds fascinating. What about Matthew? In China, you are the expert on China's legends and fairy tales. So how is snake being seen in this culture? Why are we celebrating even in the zodiac?
Well, as you just mentioned, snake in rural areas, especially in the southern part of China, is considered as a lucky animal that you don't really kick out of your house. And if you have seen a snake just crawling around your granary, that may be a good sign, symbolizing a bumper harvest.
I see.
And also in some villages, I know that they are celebrating the Spring Festival by doing a snake lantern competition kind of thing. So it's more like a dragon dance or lion dance.
I see.
That we're more familiar with.
So they were holding the lanterns, and which is in the shape of a snake, somewhat?
I haven't experienced this kind of celebrations myself, but I have seen photos, and I think local people are very creative, and I'm sure that might be an ancient tradition that has been lost, maybe in the north.
The snake in Chinese culture is in Buddhism. The snake there's many tales, even in Thailand, there's all these tales from Buddhist mythology about the snake. It symbolizes transformation, rebirth. If you look at the emblems of the American Medical Association, or sort of medical things, the snake is associated with medicine and with health. I think in Chinese culture also, because they use the snake for so many kinds of medicine, Chinese medicine, there's a snake bile and all kinds of things are taken from the snake. And even in the West, snakes are seen as, having medicinal purposes. But also what I wanted to say is humans have an instinctive fear of snakes. But when I took my daughter to see Kung Fu Panda, she said, oh, so there can be cute snakes as well as little scary snakes. And she said, it's just like the dragon. To us, in the West, the dragon is a fearful creature, but in Chinese, the dragon is cute and lovable. The same thing with the rats, So I think that it's kind of a pun. The snake can be seen as a threat. It can also be seen as a good thing, something that's good for humankind.
Yeah.
It's also the fact that sometimes bad or evil things or protagonists are sometimes also seen as having a sort of an admirable side to them. So even in the Western mythology, the snake is important in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve, but the snake is not really pictured as really evil. The snake is more thought of as being kind of wise, clever, sneaky. And I think that's what the Chinese see it also too. The snake is flexible and creative.
On this, I've been talking to Kevin Messenger, who is really the expert on snakes. Let's take a look.
Snakes to me are probably the coolest animal I've ever seen in my life.
What was your first encounter with snakes? Where? How?
My father,
Beautiful place.
he is he's an emergency vet, and a client brought in an Indian python to his hospital, and he brought it home because it was 5 meters long, and so at the hospital there's no cage big enough for the snake. I remember we'd put it in the backyard, and I would get on its back and I'd kind of ride it like a kid might ride a big dog. The ideal situation is if people would respect the role that snakes play in the environment. If people would respect snakes to the point where, okay, yes, you have a role to play in the wild, you deserve to live, I'm just going to walk in a different direction or walk around you and let you be. That's what I would love. When I was in college, I did a mark recapture study on some snakes in South Carolina. So there's a baby cottonmouth. It's a type of viper that lives in the water. And when I caught him, so he was a little baby, maybe, I don't know, about that big. Mm-hmm. And I caught him and I put a little pit tag, a transmitter inside him so that in the future I could scan him. You know the chips that we put in our cats and dogs if they get loose? Okay, it's one of those. I put one of those in this little baby snake. And over the next 6 years, I would get to watch him grow from a little baby snake up to an adult. And on the 6th year, I scanned him. I think it was I then caught that individual like 30 times. And, in my little database, I have how he grows and how his weight has gained. Wow. And so that's kind of cool, to see a little baby snake that I found when he was a baby, and I got to watch him mature and grow up to an adult, even though he didn't appreciate me, but I appreciated him. We preserve what we love what we understand, and we understand what we study.
And we heard from Kevin, who of course knows about snake in the wild more than all of us. But when it comes to culture side, I have to go to you, Matthew, because there's so many legends of snakes here in China.
Yeah, I think maybe some of the most popular tales about snakes is this Bai Suzhen, the tale of the white snake. It's about a spirit, white snake, practicing all kinds of magical practices that turned herself into a human figure after attained this magical power. And so is her sister, a green snake. So two of them went out as two beautiful ladies, and they met a young gentleman, and she recognized him because when she was still a snake, and this young scholar saved her from being killed. So she would like to, reciprocate his generosity, and so she decided to marry him, so to support his career. But this love affair was interrupted because a evil monk trying to expose her in front of her husband, and when she was exposed, turned into a snake again. Her husband was scared to death. So she tried all the way to go to the Kunlun mountain to get this magical medicine to save her husband. So that's a lovely story.
It's a romantic story, but also quite an emotional,
very emotional,
sentimental story.
Very dramatic. Yeah. There's a lot more to talk about it. But eventually, I think in the end, they become a happy ending. I think that
it's such a well-known story, isn't it? It's in all kinds of art genres in China, whether it's Peking opera or any other traditional operas, movies, and also in symphonies.
Yes.
And meanwhile, in dramas, you name it. And there are so many versions in different years that are producing the same story. Why are we so fascinated by this story?
Well, I think on the one hand, I think that's perhaps because China has a long history with snakes. Look at the ancestors of China, which is Fuxian Nuwa. Both of them actually, they have the upper part of the human body, but their lower part of the body is snake.
Right.
So that's a very, it can't be more obvious example of how we Asian Chinese worship the snakes.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to add one thing is that in China, the snake is seen as the small dragon. And you say, so when we, in the zodiac, they are, so the last year was the dragon year, and this year is the snake. So they are adjacent to each other, those 2 years. And so you have the big dragon and small dragon.
Right.
So obviously you have the tail that is similar. So for Chinese, there's also, because Chinese people, they say we're 龙的传人. So we are descendants of the dragon. So in a certain way, by relation, you talk about Nuwa, which is also one of the, Chinese also descend from those times from Nuwa. So there's something similar, I think, in Chinese culture between dragon, which is the bigger representation, and snake.
Because I think since Chinese civilization goes back such a long way, and so my context to it is also Indian civilization. Because when you were sharing the folk tale, again, like going back to what I was talking about with the Nagin who can transform. So we have a very similar sort of myth too, where instead of, I think the only difference is that obviously it was two snakes who were bonded for life, and I think somebody killed the man snake, and this is when the woman snake becomes the Nagin and sort of goes to a god to so that he can grant the life back.
Yeah.
So I think I just thought it was fascinating how these two stories are so similar and also so ancient, and obviously even now this is a pretty common pop culture trope where you have like television sitcoms or dramas.
Yes, indeed.
Where the story is being told.
And even computer games, of course.
Yeah, I mean, there's computer game for everything.
So during a time as the Spring Festival, how are you celebrating? What do you think is the best way to celebrate a traditional festival? Matthew.
Well, I know in the south that people, especially in Zhejiang province, I think they're making this kind of rice snakes for their New Year, and because they worship snakes as their totem, as their clan's totem. So rice, they just steam it in the shape of a snake, and together they have a lot of little snake eggs, also made of rice. But it's a symbol for fertility. They use that as a way of celebrating the Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
I think especially that's most appropriate for this year.
Right. Of course, that's pretty much the traditional way, isn't it? But the Chinese banquet, it's very rich. There are so many different diversities. When I'm thinking about it, I'm already feeling mouth-watering. David, you're in Thailand for now. Well, certainly they have great food over there, but when you say to your friends back at home about the Chinese New Year banquet, what would you say? How would you describe it?
Well, I would say it's kind of a overload, a sensory overload of food and drink. The one thing that I think is that if when you're finished with the banquet, you should not only feel sated, but you should sort of feel like in a hypnotic state. And I think that's sort of the way that there's the old thing of the snake, of the person blowing the whistle and making the snake hypnotized. That's kind of how I feel.
The cobra. That was the cobra Suyesha was mentioning.
Right. So for me, part of the hypnotic effect is the baijiu. And the question is, am I going to have that or not tonight?
And how did you answer that question? How are you going to answer that question?
I think 顺其自然. I think I'll just go
with the flow.
Go with the flow, whatever comes natural. But I mean, I think for me that's part of the snake aspect, is that you become so hypnotized and feeling so good.
I think after our conversation, you'll certainly need some baijiu, just to cheer up. But Julian, what about for you? I mean, you know all of this list of dishes in Chinese, right? When you were learning Chinese crosstalk. David, you do too. I really want to have a test of both of you as to how much you remembered.
Oh, I think I'm not sure now, but 蒸羊羔、蒸熊掌、蒸鹿尾、烧花鸭、烧子鹅、卤猪、卤鸭、酱鸡、腊肉、松花小肚、晾肉、香肠、什锦、酥扒、熏鸡、白肚、清蒸八宝猪、江米酿鸭子、罐焖鸡、罐焖鸭、山鸡、兔脯、菜蟒、银鱼、清蒸哈什马、烩鸭丝、烩鸭腰、烩鸭条、清拌鸭丝、焖黄鳝、焖白鳝、豆豉鲮鱼、锅烧鲤鱼、清蒸甲鱼、转炸虾腰、转炸鸡、炸白虾、炝青虾、炸面鱼、炝竹笋、汆银鱼、溜黄菜、芙蓉燕菜、炒虾仁、烩虾仁、烩银丝、烩海参、烩鸽蛋、炒蹄筋、蒸南瓜酿、冬瓜、炒丝瓜酿、倭瓜、焖鸡掌、焖鸭掌、溜鲜蘑、溜鱼腐、溜鱼肚、溜鱼片、醋溜鱼片、三鲜木须汤、红丸子、白丸子、酥造丸子、南煎丸子、干炸丸子、饸饹丸子、酥造丸子， Yeah, 我记不住了。
Wow.
Yeah, 5 or 10 minutes
I
I can do
mean,
the
just
whole
out
thing.
of the
That was-
blue, I'm asking this
Oh.
as a favor, and you did
Amazing.
it so well. Wow, that must be
It's been like
carved
10
in your
years I haven't said
memory.
that.
Like forever. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. How many
Yeah.
dishes among all of
Yeah.
this can
But-
you cook though?
How do you know I was actually going to say that I didn't try nearly like most of the dishes on there? How do you know? I tried some of those I did try. Yeah. Some of
Matthew, how did
the
you
most
do?
common meats and yeah.
Yeah. So 2025, this year, the year of the snake, many suggest it's going to be a tremendous amount of uncertainties and changes. After all of these celebrations, we all need to go back to work and to celebrate our lives. At this point, a lot of happiness, but also a lot of uncertainties. I don't know, how are you going to digest that also throughout the New Year holiday season? David?
Well, actually, I've been looking forward to this because I read up a little bit about this. The snake, part of the personality of the snake is that it's very flexible, has a flexible mind, and is able to adapt to extreme changes. So I think this is very appropriate for this year because there's so many uncertainties. And I think this is a time that we need to rethink everything that we've been doing, to reform or cast away old-fashioned and outmoded sorts of ways of doing things, and think anew, think fresh new thoughts and new kinds of solutions to the problems. So I think 2025 is a good year for the snake, and it's because that's very symbolic of what we're facing right now.
I see.
It's an interesting way of putting it, David, and I think it's good for optimism. You know, you just see the good side of it. We can always choose to see the bad side of things, and it's very important. You know, combining, of course, the symbolism and the tradition, and using maybe a little bit of superstition, but use it for the good cause, which is
Good
being
point.
full of optimism at the new start of the new year.
So Yasha?
It's about taking baby steps and taking each day as it comes. I think I love what David said about flexibility, and I think that's something we can learn from the snake. So yeah, it's about you know, just going with the flow and taking it slow maybe.
Well, I think snake to me, especially for this challenging year ahead, I think it's more reminds me of the personality of resilience. I think that we all need that, and I'm a positive person, so I think that whatever hardship we may have, we're going to make through it.
Well, with all of those encouraging words, we're wrapping up this very first edition, I guess, leading up to the Year of the Snake. So let's everybody say Happy New Year, the Year of the Snake, to our audience.
祝你万事如意，身体健康，什么都有，什么都有。
喜蛇临门，有蛇有得。
Happy New Year to everybody. It's the Year of the Snake, and it's going to be a good one. Spend time with your friends and family, and yeah, that's what it is.
Well, happy Year of the Snake, and 事事如意.
And with those beautiful wishes, we're wrapping up today's program. Thank you so much for joining us and bring us all those best wishes for the Year of the Snake. And happy the Year of the Snake to all of you. Thank you.